everybody, my name's Kelsey and I work with the OBA Tech Transfer team.
My name is Glennis and I also work for the Tech Transfer team.
And my name's Mike and I work for the Ontario Animal Health Network.
And we're in the field today and we are going to do some mite monitoring. So Glennis and I have been beekeepers for a while, so we know the deal with mite monitoring, but Mike is brand new. He has never been in a beehive before and he's never mite monitored, so we're going to teach him how to do it. Are you ready for it?
Excited.
Great.
All right, when you're getting ready to do your sticky board monitoring out in the field, there are a few things you want to gather beforehand. So number one is the sticky board itself. So whether you have a commercially made product or a DIY sticky board that's pre-stuck with some sticky material, you want to make sure you have that when you go out. You also want to make sure that you have a screen bottom board. So this is a piece of equipment that's used in conjunction with the sticky board that allows you to place the sticky board underneath the colony without the bees disturbing the stickiness. So this might already be on your colonies, or you're going to have to bring it out with you and swap out your bottom board before you do the monitoring. So that's all you need for a sticky board, but there are a few things you can gather that make it a little bit easier on you to count your mites afterwards. So that includes a magnifying glass. So Varroa mites are visible to the naked eye, but they are really tiny. So sometimes having a magnifying glass with you can help differentiate Varroa mites from other pieces of crud that are going to fall on your sticky board. You can also bring a headlamp with a magnifying glass if you need that extra bit of assistance. Having a counter, especially when you have higher mite levels, that's going to help you keep track of how many mites are on your board. And similarly, as you're counting, sometimes it helps to circle the Varroa mites you find, and that's going to allow you to double check, make sure that you got every single mite that's on that board, so you don't have to wonder, oh, did I miss that one, or did I count it already? So a pencil can really help with that. A pencil in particular can usually cut through the Crisco or any other sort of sticky material that's on it, so it's usually better than a pen or a marker for that purpose. And then the final thing you want to bring with you is your notebook. So in beekeeping, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. Make sure after you do your monitoring, you write down the date and the levels that you got so that you can remember it for next time.
Now, my name's Mike and I have never done any beekeeping or had any real interaction with bees, and I'm going to show how following Kelsey's instructions can help you make a grid or sticky board at home. So, got our manila envelope, and for the grid, Kelsey, does it matter what size I do?
Nope, not at all. So the grid itself doesn't actually matter. It's just to help you count the board later on after we pull it out.
Okay. And even if you've got terrible non-straight lines like me, it's okay?
Absolutely fine,
yeah.
Yep.
Is that okay? Okay. And now it's Crisco time. So for it, when you say it should be white, can it be translucent or does it?
Yes, it's fine that it's good if the grid shows through it, but you do want it to appear white. And then if you're using something like cardboard as your base that's really absorbent, you'd want to make sure you're putting even more on, because when you take the sticky board out after the monitoring is finished, then a lot of times if it's not thick enough, it'll just have absorbed into that material.
And is there, what other, like I was thinking when you were doing this, I was like, you already have sticky stuff in the hive, you could just use honey. But that's not the case, right?
No, you'd want to avoid using honey. One, because it's probably going to be fairly liquid with the warmth of the hive, so it's not going to stay on the board enough. It's also really attractive to bees and other critters. So you want to sort of balance being sticky versus being very attractive. even this Crisco, raccoons and skunks really like the smell of it, so you have to make sure the back of your screen bottom board is plugged up so they can't get to it.
Okay, I think I've got it. Is that enough, Crisco?
Looks great.
Okay.
All right, so we are all geared up. We are ready to get started with our mite monitoring. Any questions before we get started?
How many hives do we monitor?
Great question. So the gold standard, ideally, would be to do every single hive. Now, if you are, a hobbyist or a smaller beekeeper, then that is absolutely no problem. For sure, do every hive. If you are maybe running a bigger operation, if you have maybe more hives than is feasible to do every single one, then we want to do a minimum of 10% of the hives in the yard, or at least 5 hives. So for example, this yard has 15 hives in it. So if we were only to do 10%, that would only be about 2 colonies, which is not enough. That wouldn't give us a good understanding of what's actually going on in this yard. So we're going to do that minimum of 5 hives for this yard.
So if you're not doing the monitoring for all of your hives, how do you choose the ones that you're going to use?
For sure. So you want to be sticking with your strongest colonies. And you also want to be sticking with colonies that are queen right and have been queen right for the past little bit. So that means any colonies that have not had any interruptions to the brood cycle. So for example, colonies that swarmed or superseded or have been requeened are not the colonies that we would want to choose. The reason that we want stronger colonies is because Varroa mites grow alongside of the brood. So any colony that has a lot of brood will also have a lot of Varroa mites, and we want to be targeting the highest Varroa levels in our yard.
All right, so now we're going to show Mike how to do mite monitoring with a sticky board and screen bottom board instead of the alcohol wash. So with the sticky board method, you do need a bit of extra equipment, which you may or may not already have in your operation. So this is a screen bottom board. It's very similar to a regular bottom board that would have a solid panel here instead of a screen. It's going to act as the base of the colony. And when this is a screen instead of a solid board, it allows Varroa mites that drop off of bees to fall through the screen and onto the sticky paper that we're going to put below it. So if you don't already have screen bottom boards installed in your hives, you're going to have to put one on before you do this method. It's pretty simple. You can buy all-in-one units at most bee supply stores. So you just replace your bottom board with the screen bottom board. It's very straightforward to do. If you buy something like this, it is a screen bottom board, but it's more of a Varroa screen, so it doesn't have a solid part underneath it. You're going to have to use this in conjunction with your existing solid bottom board, and there's a bit of a trick to it. So we'll show you how to install this, and then we'll slide in our sticky board. Oh yeah, I was going to. Yep, sure. All right, so this is your solid bottom board. So you can see there's 3 edges on each side and then a flat portion here. So this is what allows your bees to have an entrance in and out of the hive. So when you first take off your brood chamber, just check really quickly that your queen isn't on your solid bottom board. It's not super likely that she will be there, but the chance is never 0%. So make sure you check for her. And then you can knock all those bees off. So we don't want the bees to use this as their entrance anymore. We want them to use the entrance that the screen bottom board is going to give them. So to prevent them from coming back into the solid bottom board area, we're going to flip it around. And then on top of the solid bottom board, we're going to put our screen bottom board. So this is their new entrance here. And then at the back, the entrance for the solid bottom board creates a space where we can slide the sticky board in and out. All right, so I'll get Glennis to help me lift this hive back on. And super goes back on. And there you have it. Now we have a hive that has a screen bottom board, and we're ready to slide in our sticky board.
Okay, now I am going to try the sticky board method.
That's right. So you've already created your sticky board in the lab.
Yes.
So now you just got to make sure it's still sticky and label it and slide it in.
Oh. So it's not very sticky. It's very greasy. I don't know if it's very sticky.
Yeah, so on a day like today, all of the Crisco has melted off this sticky board. So I wouldn't recommend using it at this point. You can see it's probably been dripping for a while. So all of this here, like if a mite falls on that, it might be greasy enough to stop them. It probably won't be,
okay.
Especially after 3 days. So I am going to recommend not using your pre-made one and use this commercial product here.
Okay. Peel this off?
Yes, great instincts to actually peel off the cover. It does have to be sticky for it to work.
And on these ones, it even has your hive ID, date installed, and date removed on it.
Exactly, yeah.
So what's the hive ID?
Hive ID is 7505.
Okay. Date Q29. Okay. We'll do
All
date removed when we come back. Is
That's
that
right, yep.
So am I doing the whole thing of like putting in the screen, or am I just sticking
You're
with
just
it?
going to stick it in.
Okay, I thought I was going to be moving. Okay, that's easier.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need a close-up. I think they'll be able to see what's going on here.
Yep.
So that's there. That. What's this?
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it, until we come back and take it out.
And when do we take it out?
It's a great question. So for sticky boards, you want to leave them in for 3 days. So that's just to give us a decent average of mite drops. You want to leave it in for a good few days to see what's actually happening in the hive. So we'll come back in 3 days and take it out and count all the mites that are on it.
Okay, so now that we've left it for 3 days, I can take out the sticky.
Yes, absolutely.
Nothing got our sticky board, so that's good.
Perfect.
Here it is, just up here.
Yeah, sure.
And then we want to write down where we took it from, or when we took it out.
When we
right?
took it out, yeah.
There we go.
All right. So now, because it's labeled, and you know what hive this sticky board came out of, if you prefer to gather them all and count them back at home, you can absolutely do that. Today we're just going to count in the yard because we've only got one to do, and it's nice and quick that way.
Okay, and so can you explain the grid system to me now?
Absolutely. So you're going to count every single mite that's on this sticky board. So you're going to start at one end and snake your way through the entire board and count every mite that you find. The grid, like I said before, the grid doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if there wasn't a grid on here at all.
Yeah.
It just helps you know that, okay, I've done this row, I'm on the second row, I'm on the third row. It kind of keeps you straight with where you've been. It's also a great idea to circle the mite, because if you want to go back over it, then you don't have to start from scratch. You know the ones that you've already found, and you can see if you missed any in your count.
Okay. So, I have never looked at a sticky board before. How do you pick out a mite from all the rest of the junk on there.
Yeah, so this can be one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're just getting used to seeing all of the different debris that falls out of a hive, because there's a heck of a lot of things on this board that look like a varroa mite.
Yeah.
But to tell the difference, so varroa mites are always going to be very oval. They're going to be red to brownish in color. But why don't I just show you a mite compared to all of this other gunk. Excellent. All right, so yeah, I'll give you the pencil. You can go through each grid and try to find some varroa mites.
Okay.
I also have these magnifying glasses that can help you out if you're having trouble sort of differentiating the mite from the crud.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also find it kind of difficult looking through this.
It's very distracting. Yeah, you can take the board away from the bee yard and take your veil off and be able to really get in here. So anything you need to do to count the mites, you can bring these to another beekeeper. Sometimes you can send photos in. These don't photograph all that well, so sometimes it is difficult if you're just sending photos in, but by all means you can send them and see if anyone can ID mites. You want me to show you? All right, so there's one right here. Oh, I just picked it up on my sticky
That
hand.
one.
So see right there?
Yeah.
So it's sort of got a sheen to her back, and it's a bit more oval. Almost looks like a really tiny droplet of something if she's got her back up to what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
If she's upside down, sometimes you can see her little legs. That's a little easier with something like a magnifying glass, but you can see her legs. If you have
circle that.
Yeah, circle that. Oh, but I see another one on her back now, sort of in this square.
Area? Okay. Sorry, this square?
This square right here.
This square here. Okay. Is it this one right there?
Yeah.
Okay, I see the shine now. That makes sense. Okay.
Excellent.
There we go.
Oh, and there are only 2. So there we go. We've got a mite count of 2 on the sticky board.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, great question. So similar to the way we do the alcohol wash, where we take a bigger sample and we divide it to get a mite count per 100 bee, we also want to divide the total number of mites on the sticky board by 3 to get a mite per 24-hour drop.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're aiming for. That's what the thresholds are based off of, mites per 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, if you were to come back and say you accidentally left this in for 4 days, for 5 days, that's totally fine. Just divide by the number of days that it was underneath the colony.
Yep.
But if you leave it in for really more than a week, you're asking for trouble, because the longer it's in here, the more crud falls on it. So it gets a little bit more difficult to count for sure. And the final thing we're going to do today is just make sure that we write down everything that we did. We've got our dates down, and we have our numbers from our alcohol wash, and we have our numbers from our sticky board. So we remember what they are, and we can reflect back on them later. If anything looks concerning, then we can react to that right away and remember what colonies had what levels.